You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about being the new kid in a new galaxy. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And today we are exploring the Nexus. The Hyperion arrived at the Nexus to discover that nothing about the initiative went according to plan. Leadership has shifted, there was a mutiny, none of the Golden Worlds have worked out, there's a dark energy cloud and hostile aliens to contend with, and the other arcs are missing. Can writers stand up to the challenge of being the human Pathfinder with the odds stacked against them?
Yeah, like the earliest impressions of this section is, oh, okay, I'm the person who's got to do literally everything. Like, it's the most Shepard moment so far, is like, everyone's like, can you help me with this thing? Oh, you're the Pathfinder, you can do this. It's up to you to get this done. Like, that's pretty much every conversation you have on the Nexus.
Yeah, and there's a mixed bag of confidence in you as well.
Yes.
And it's kind of hard to feel like you can handle it when not everybody is like, I have faith in you. You can do this.
Yeah, that is the one thing about being Shepard in the previous trilogy, is like everyone believes in you, except for the council, because, you know, it's the fucking council. But like everyone else believes in you. In this, it's like, there are some people who believe in you, and then some people who don't think you could do anything. And speaking to that, the first person I spoke to was Addison, because she's right there after you finish the bulk of the larger conversation when we first arrive. And I don't like her. She's unnecessarily mean.
She sucks.
And like one of the first things I asked her is why she keeps calling my dad by his first name, because nobody did. Everyone called him the Pathfinder. And she's like, because he never did any pathfinding, so I didn't think he deserved the title, or something along those lines. And I'm like, what the fuck?
No one's a Pathfinder until they've path-found something. But then she does a self-burn, and she's just like, and I'm a colonial affairs director with no colonial affairs to direct. So here we are.
Yeah, like there are moments in the conversation where she seems likable, and then most of it is just her being a total a-hole.
I also don't like Addison. I think she's really shitty to you when she first meets you, and she doesn't account for the fact that you just suffered an extreme trauma and that you're 20 years old, and maybe she should get off your dick for 5 seconds.
Yeah, it sucks. And like, you're just trying to find out more information, and she seems beleaguered to have to fill you in, and you're like, bitch, I just got here. Help me out.
I have been in Andromeda for 5 minutes. Please calm down. Yeah. But at the same time, looking at things from her perspective, I do kind of get her, like, hesitation to trust you. You're a 20-year-old with, like, an aimbot in your head.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, you're a kid, and Alec was not. He was a seasoned veteran. He had life experience. Cora trained to become the Pathfinder. You did none of these things.
Nope. Literally nothing.
So I kind of get it, but at the same time, maybe chill for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm wondering, as we get further into the game, if this is going to be one of those chosen one narratives, and I hate those, but like, we'll see, because it does feel very much like you're the prodigal son, even though you have nothing, and it's just lazy writing, but we'll see. I'm getting ahead of myself.
I do appreciate, however, whenever Addison, like, says something, she then hesitates, and she's like, and now I'm being poetic about it. I fucking hate this place.
It is comical.
Like, okay.
Fair enough.
Like, I hate the way she treats you.
Yeah.
When you first meet, but there's a lot of things that she says that I completely understand where she's coming from. Like, she's in a less than ideal situation. Every single Golden World has failed. Every attempt that they've made to settle a world has resulted in disaster and death, and everyone on the station is starving, and it feels like they came 600 years away for absolutely no reason, just for everyone to die. And that's a stressful situation to be in.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I just love the phrase goddamn poetry.
Yeah, Addison is my least favorite person to talk to amongst the leadership. However, the next person that we spoke to that I spoke to at least, is my favorite person on the leadership. I went to see my new best friend, Kesh.
Yay.
I love Kesh. I get a lot of Eve vibes from her, which, you know, is not that surprising since Eve is like the only other female Krogan we've ever met. But I love her. I think she is... She reminds me why the female Krogan are the natural leaders of the Krogan, because they are wiser, they are, you know, they are patient, they are understanding. But we do get some background from her for people who have not played the other games, and for us to kind of remind us that the Krogan still have issues even here, and that the reason, you know, our Pathfinder asks, like, where are all the Krogan? I've seen multiple Solarians and Turian, but you're like the only Krogan. What happened? And we find out that the Krogan are the ones who were, again, the meat shields to push back the mutiny, and they did it in an agreement with the Solarians to get more power on the Nexus, and then of course the Solarians reneged, because of course they did. And so most of them were like, well, fuck this, I'm out.
I just like to specify.
Please.
It's not the Solarians as a whole. It is specifically Tan.
It is specifically Tan, you're right. I just say the Solarians because I'm unsurprised that a Solarian reneged on an offer to the Krogan.
Right. And like, the Krogan have been through enough. I totally understand why the Krogan left.
Yeah. And when you ask Kesh about it, like, oh, can you tell me more? She's like, you should probably talk to Tan about it. Like, she's so salty, and she should be.
Yeah. But Kesh stayed behind, and she even says, both my people and the Nexus need me here.
Yeah.
And I just have so much respect for Kesh. She doesn't let anyone push her around. She doesn't let anyone, like, bully her. She stands up for herself and for her people, for her team especially.
Yep.
And she's supportive of Ryder. She is one of the few people that is, like, all in supportive of Ryder with no strings attached, with no ulterior motives. Just like, you brought me power, and therefore we are allies and friends now.
Yeah, and she is the only one in any of the conversations who asks you how you are immediately. When you get to her, she asks how you're holding up, how, you know, things are going. And, like, nobody else has asked that. You just lost your dad, and no one seems to care, but Kesh cares.
Yeah. Kesh is a good person. And, like, I also appreciate that Kesh doesn't try to sugarcoat anything.
No.
Kesh tells you about the mutiny, tells you about how the Krogan had been fucked over, talks about the genophage even, and how one of the reasons the Krogan came was so that way they can work on a mutation in their biology to improve viability of birth. Like, they're up to 4% viability, which is way better than they had back in the Milky Way.
Yeah, it seems like she cares about your mission, but also just genuinely cares about everyone on the station in a no strings attached, like you said, sort of way.
Also, like, snaps for Kesh, she designed and built the Nexus.
Yeah, which is dope. Like, I love that this game is taking an opportunity to go, hey, let's break outside stereotypes and point out that not all Krogan are, you know, warmongering brutes. That there are plenty of those, but there are Krogan scientists. They do exist, and they're not just the tinkerers that we saw in the trilogy. They are people who have advanced minds, who can do advanced, incredible work.
Yeah. Another thing that Kesh brings up in conversation is when talking about the strained relationships between the Krogan and the other, like, council races, so to speak. Mm-hmm. She says it's no one person's fault. Like, it's not specifically the Solarians' fault. It's not specifically the Turians' fault. Like, even my own people had a hand in it because, you know, we were all kind of shitty and we all did things that played into the destruction of my people.
Yeah, we're not there yet, but that's the exact opposite response of the next person we're going to talk to, who blames literally everybody else.
Is that going to be Tan?
Yeah, but what I also like here with Kesh is Kesh doesn't call Tan, calls Tan 8.
Number 8.
Number 8, because she doesn't think he's worthy of his own name, let alone his own rank, because he was the 8th in succession, because all other 7 died, including the head of the program.
Yeah, Jean Garson was killed in a Scourge disaster when the Nexus first arrived.
Yep. And then the rest of the leadership were killed by the mutiny, as I recall, right?
No, they were all part of the Scourge disaster.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Some weren't even out of cryo yet when they died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tan, let's move on to him.
Yes. So this is interesting. So Cora's already there. She's working on finalizing some stuff on your behalf to help get things set up. And as you come in to kind of engage in the conversation, she excuses herself so you can talk to Tan. Tan, I'm starting to see now why you feel the way you do. So a few things. Tan talks to you about Eos and going to explore and actually finding inhabitable planets or making planets inhabitable so you can start to actually do what this program is designed to do. And at first he sounds like he also believes in you, but throughout the conversation you find out, no, it's more symbiotic and parasitic even, that he knows that if you're successful, he'll be successful. And so he just wants you to get the shit done. He doesn't necessarily believe in you or think you can do it. He just knows if you do it, it'll make him look good as well.
Yeah. Something he says is a good Pathfinder would relish the challenge of solving it. And that's kind of the phrase that triggers Cora to be like, I'm gonna go now.
Yep. And it's like that shows his true feelings. And like big ups to Kumail Nanjiani, who everyone who listens knows already that I'm a giant fan of, because he does a good job with this character. This is going to be another kind of elusive man situation where I love the actor, hate the character. Also, when you start to talk to him about, so I talked to him because I had done the murder stuff before that we'll get to. Like you can talk to him a little bit about that, and he seems kind of nonplussed. Like his thoughts are, well, if you find something, all right, then we'll deal with it. But I hope you don't, so we can just keep the status quo. And I'm like, dude. And then when you bring up the Krogan stuff, he is such a racist ass.
He's so racist.
He's like, all Krogan are meatheads. They're all monsters. We don't need them. Like, he's just, and blames them completely for everything that went wrong with the mutiny. Like he states plainly, I would have never given them power. They don't deserve power. They're, they're not intelligent enough to help rule or lead anything. And it's really fucked up.
My notes about Tan are split because I did like one initial conversation with him and then I went back to talk to him again.
Yeah.
One thing that he says is placing bets on people is part of my job. Actually, no, it's not part of your job. That was Gene Garson's job, and Gene Garson is dead. So your job is actually to just keep the Nexus running. I think it's very, like, arrogant of Tan to be like, placing bets on people is part of my job. No, it's not, actually.
Well, yeah, and that builds right into when you start asking him more about his background and why they call him 8. You find out that he was actually the Nexus's accountant, financial advisor.
Which I find hilarious.
It is very funny. And, like, you try and, like, give him shit about it. And he's like, hey, just because I was good with numbers doesn't mean I'm not good at this other stuff as well. We all are used to working in unknown spaces. And I'm like, oh, shut up.
I hate him. I hate his attitude. He's such a bureaucrat. There's a power struggle between him and Addison. And, like, even though I don't like the way Addison talks to you, at least I understand where Addison is coming from. Right.
Yeah. She has a reason to be angry in a way that I feel like Tan does not.
Yeah. What else do I want to highlight about this conversation with him? He tells us that the arcs are missing.
Yeah, he asks us to go find the arcs. But, like, the way he asks is like, yeah, oh, also while you're going around adventuring and discovering and doing all that stuff for us, also, why don't you, take some time and find those arcs? And just like, sure, why not? We also
it's not like you have 6 worlds to settle.
Right. And we also find out that apparently the Quarians are further behind than the rest of them because they all were also bringing the Hanar and the Drell, and all of those different types of immune systems and needs was hard on their hardware, and so it just delayed them, and they're going to be here much later than the other arcs were supposed to even be there.
Yeah. They're also bringing Elcor and Batarians.
Yes.
I feel like there's a 6th one, but I don't remember. Maybe not. Maybe it was just 5. Oh, Volus. That was the 6th one.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, all of them on one arc. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Let's see. Anything else? We find out that the Exiles are led by someone named Sloane Kelly.
Yep.
Who used to be like head of security, but now that kind of goes to Kandros. Anything else about my conversation with Tan that I want to highlight? I don't think so. I think that's it for Tan for me.
No, we find, we find out more about the deaths of the other 7 that preceded him. We also find out about the next expedition on Eos, and, Which is funny because shortly after that, I also got like 1 or 2 other missions that are like, hey, while you're on Eos, do this. And I'm like,
yeah,
let the gophering begin.
Yep, basically. It's because, like, you're the only competent person in the galaxy as far as anyone is concerned.
It seems that way.
It's like you show up and they're like, ah, yes.
The one human who can save us all.
A 20-year-old with a death wish.
Oh, God.
Everything will be fine now. Do you want to talk about Kandros?
Yes. So it's funny because talking to Kandros, I got a ton of information at once because I started the first murder mission before going to him. And so like I got it like the info dump of him introducing himself again, asked him and then he immediately asked me about that first murder, which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, like I like Kandros. He reminds me of some of my favorite Turians in the previous trilogy, the kind of the candor he has. He's very frank. He's very straightforward. He also thinks you're capable and kind of, he's not as like awash with love for you like Kesh is, but he clearly respects you and believes that you can get the job done. He talks to you like you're an equal.
Yeah, he explicitly says to you, like, if you need anything, come talk to me, even if it's just a vent, which is not really something that we're used to hearing as a protagonist.
No.
Like, everybody just expects us to handle it, but it's nice to hear someone be like, hey, this is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear in this game, like, in the Mass Effect trilogy, you're playing as a glorified superhero, essentially. Like, Shepard is considered a superhero, whereas, Ryder is not. Ryder is considered an average person, more of an average Joe or Jane or the non-binary version of those names. I guess Joe could be for both because Joe can be feminine and masculine. Anyway,
names don't need to have a gender.
No, the point I'm trying to make is that it does seem like that people understand that you are not the super soldier. You're going to need help, and with the exception of a few, people are willing to provide it.
I love Kandros. I think he's great. I love his reason for joining the initiative, which is I was tired of being the good one.
Yeah.
Like, everyone in my family got to go have adventures, and I stayed in the military, and everybody was so proud of me for, like, doing what I was supposed to do, and when was I gonna get my adventure? So I decided to say, fuck all that, and I decided to leave.
Yep.
I love him. I think he's great. And also, one of my favorite things about him is he's the kind of person who doesn't look for leadership and has it thrust on him.
Yeah.
He's not like Tan. Tan wants to be in charge and he wants to feel important. Kandros just wants, like, people to be safe and protected.
He feels like a less vengeful version of Garrus, right? Like, because Garrus had a similar thing where he kind of just found himself in leadership positions because of the decisions he made. It's a similar thing here. And I think that's a very Turian thing, is to want, like, this kind of noble and just cause to want to step forward. All Turians seem to handle it differently, but it does seem ingrained in their military culture to kind of, like, step forward and do the right thing. Because we hear that a lot with the Turian.
Especially when the military is such a vital part of their upbringing.
Yep.
Mandatory military service is part of, like, growing up for them.
Yeah.
So when you have service as such a vital aspect of your, like, values and your traditions, it makes sense that a lot of the Turians we encounter have an aspect of service as part of their core values, whether it's service to their found family or to their society or to their community.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. He talks about, like, how Turians feel like they have to earn citizenship. That's why there's so many Turians in the militia that he set up. Mm-hmm. Because they feel like they have to protect people. Yeah. But the nice thing about Andromeda is I feel it gives a lot of people an opportunity to do something different with their lives.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a lot of non-stereotypical roles for these characters that we've gotten to see through a certain lens.
And we've seen that already a little bit.
Other things we learn from Kandros is that the Ket take prisoners.
Yep.
And we get an introduction to the multiplayer strike team element of Andromeda.
Yep, which I didn't even look at all. I probably will at some point. I have friends who still have their copy of Andromeda. I want to see if, and I'm spitballing this live on the show, but like maybe doing a multiplayer episode since this multiplayer is still active. And I have a bunch of friends who do have the PlayStation version. I know Ken, previous guest, plays exclusively on PlayStation and a few others. So maybe if I can get some folks to play, maybe I'll do a live stream from my PS5 and then like we could do an episode about it or something. We'll see. It's just because we didn't really do that with Mass Effect 3 because it's an older game and they didn't add it to the Legendary Edition. Although I still think we might get the multiplayer's DLC. Like free DLC to the Legendary Edition, which would be cool. It would be nice to talk about it in this game since it is kind of more of the same from what I've heard. A lot. It's very similar to the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer.
I actually haven't played it because I had no one to play it with, so
right.
like I didn't bother. But there is a non-multiplayer aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So you can still kind of get some benefit from it without having to do the multiplayer.
Gotcha.
And nothing in the game hinges on it at all.
Right.
So, like...
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to do it. But you do get some benefit if you decide that you want to. And what you can do is you send out strike teams. And they complete the mission. And
right.
if they win, you get some resources. And if
right.
they lose, then they're just like, oh, well, try again.
It reminds me of kind of like the stuff in the early Assassin's Creed games that allowed you to
yes.
like send folks out to do missions,
absolutely.
especially in Brotherhood.
Yes,
cool.
That is absolutely accurate. Yeah, okay. Do you want to talk about First Murder?
Yes. So we find out, we find a distressed female Turian who is upset because her husband has been arrested. Apparently, he's the very first murderer in the Andromeda Galaxy. I feel like that's such a colonist thing to say because I'm sure folks out here have been killing each other for ages, but this is the first murder since they came to the Andromeda Galaxy.
It's the first Andromeda Initiative murder.
Right. But it feels like a very colonist mentality. Like, no other murders before until just now. The first. Anyway, by the way, if you don't want to talk about colonization and colonist mentality, you are listening to the wrong podcast. It's going to be kind of everywhere.
A theme and like something that we're going to have to talk about and
yep.
how this game handles it.
And how it's human forward doing it, which is not accidental, I don't think. It falls into some stereotypes and things that we as humans have done here on Earth. Anyway, getting back on topic, you find out like that she's really distressed. Her husband's been arrested for this murder, but he didn't do it. He killed a squad mate, and she asks for your assistance. Since you're the Pathfinder and you have some sway. So you agree. And the first thing you are told is where he is being kept. So you can go talk to him and get the backstory of what happened and why he's been thrown in jail.
And when we do talk to him, first of all, he loves his wife.
He does love his wife.
We love someone who loves their wife.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the background of this is that they were on patrol on Eos and the murder victim made a bad call that was going to result in everyone else on the team dying.
Yep.
And they argued about it. And the argument was witnessed and
recorded as well.
And recorded. And when Hiram, the victim, was shot, everybody was really surprised. The accused claims that it was an accident. He didn't mean to. He thought he was firing at Ket, that there was Ket surrounding them. But there's circumstantial evidence.
Yeah, there was some kind of sand or dust storm that was like no one could see clearly. But there's a witness who he talked to shortly after this who could see him but couldn't see what happened.
Right. So Cassidy Shaw witnessed the death. And she explains that suddenly Hiram's chest exploded.
Yeah.
And that Nilkin just looked completely shocked that it happened.
Yeah.
And when we listen to the argument, it's an intense argument. And Nilkin even attacked Hiram and had to be dragged off of him.
Yep.
So a lot of signs point towards it is likely that Nilkin killed him. However, the body was never recovered.
Yeah, we find out through these conversations. I'm looking at and listening to this conversation and talking to the witnesses that the body is still there because they deemed it too risky to go back and go get it. And of course, there is Eos. So you can go back to Tan and tell him that you're going to go get it, which is what I alluded to before. And he's like, well, I don't really want you shaking things up. We're kind of done and people need stability. But if you find something, bring it back and, we'll deal with it. Like, he seems no harm in you doing it because you're going to be there anyway. But he's not super gung-ho about you finding out more info because the case is ostensibly closed already.
Right. And it was one of those contributing factors to the mutiny.
Yeah.
So by bringing it up again, Tan is definitely concerned that if it turns out that they wrongfully accused and arrested this man, that it's just going to cause another shakeup and there's going to be like even more casualties and bad things happening on the Nexus. And they can't handle that. They absolutely cannot handle more people leaving.
Yeah, well, good for them. Good to know that I'm here so they don't have to handle it. I'll handle it. So yeah, and so then we get a bullet point item to find the body on Eos, and that's as far as we can progress this mission here. One of the other missions that we can do on the station is someone is being sabotaged. Electrical panels keep exploding, and you witness a young engineer almost get blown up by a panel and immediately go over and be like, dude, are you okay? What happened?
Raj poor Raj.
Is, he apparently has been working on panels all over the station, and they've gotten progressively worse. The explosions have gotten progressively bigger, and had he not anticipated it, he could have gotten blown up, and you offer to help him find the saboteur. And so he recommends that you go scan a bunch of panels to see what you can find. And now we're playing a game that is very familiar to us if you've played literally any of Mass Effect 2 or 3, where you scan a thing and then follow the pipes and then scan another thing. Except now you have your own scanner that you have to actually press X on to scan with.
Yeah. Poor Raj gets electrocuted 3 times in 1 week. That's too many times, my guy.
Yeah, once is enough.
And he's so paranoid. He's like, somebody on the station is doing this. I have no one that I can trust except for you.
Because you're new. And then you have 2 options. You can either kind of like tell him he's being paranoid and agree, or you can say, well, you know what they say about people who are paranoid.
It's not paranoia if someone's actually out to get you.
Yeah, which was what I chose because that's what I would absolutely say in that situation.
Me too.
And so through scanning the panels and following the pipes and seeing what's going on, you find out that Raj's partner, not relationship partner, but working partner, it all leads back to her. And so you go to confront her.
Her name is Zara.
And so when you talk to Zara says, well, actually, all of my research that I've been doing painstakingly all by myself points to Raj. And she's like, well, I guess that data is a waste now. And you're like, well, maybe someone's setting you both up. And this is where Sam chimes in. And it's like, that actually seems like the most logical conclusion. For the 2 of them to get the same data accidentally is unlikely.
Yeah. As far as this mission is concerned, I don't really enjoy all the back and forth because you have to walk all over Ops. You have to go over to the Hyperion. You have to go back to Ops. You have to go back to the Hyperion. It's so much back and forth. But narratively, I really enjoy it as a lead-in to making us care more about the mutiny and understand what an impact it has had on the people who live here on the Nexus.
Yep. As we continue to explore it, we find out that apparently it could be that someone in the militia could be causing it. Signs point back to the militia, and we have to go check the security cameras where we confirm that information. And with Sam's help, we start scanning individual members of the guarding militia to see if they match the slight biometrics that they were able to scrub from the security footage, and we find a match. It ends up being someone working near the Hyperion. I have already forgotten the person's name, though.
Oh, I didn't write down his name. I forgot.
But when you confront him, he informs you that the reason he's doing that, he's not a traitor. It's not sabotage. He's doing this because, people he cared about were pulled away from him with no chance for explanation or understanding, and that we don't understand quite how bad it was or why they mutinied, like sharing that it was really bad, they were mistreating people, and that we were just trying to stand up for the common citizens' right. And he doesn't want, if that's wrong, he doesn't want to be right, kind of a thing.
Right. And, it's a cool motive. Still attempted murder, though.
Yeah. And so we're presented with an option at the end of the mission where you can either report him or let him go. Which did you choose?
I let him go. But by let him go, I mean I exiled his ass.
Same. I did that as well. I am unsurprised that we both chose the more caring option. We'll see how long that lasts.
Get the fuck out, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're on your own. Like, I understand your concerns. I was not here for the mutiny. I cannot necessarily relate. But if you're so fucking pissed about it, go.
Yeah. Don't stay here and still cause trouble for innocent people who are just trying to do their job.
Yeah, like Raj and Zara are just trying to fucking work. They have nothing to do with this. If you were targeting Tan, then maybe I would side with you. But, like, you're targeting innocent people who had nothing to do with this. They don't make any decisions. They're just trying to live their lives, and they shouldn't be punished for that.
Yes, absolutely. They should not.
Well, fuck that guy.
Yes.
Get off my ship. It's not my ship, but get off. Go away. What else can we talk about? Let's talk about the scientists.
Yes. So after meeting with all the leadership, it's suggested that you go meet with the main science team. And when you do, they inform you that they're the team who will work on all of the research and resources that you send back to the Nexus for the settled worlds that you find, and that they will be a resource to help you better, not terraform, but like get these worlds ready to be a place for people to live and help you understand the things you're finding.
I have no notes about them because I guess I just talked to them and I was just, oh, here they are, science friends. That's why. There's 3 different scientists. There's an Asari, there's a Turian, and there's a Solarian, and they have 3 different specialties. The Asari is more planetary in space. The Solarian is more biology, and the Turian is more geology. They have very different personalities.
Yes.
And I love all of them. Dr. Eridana says your data on the Scourge flows like poetry.
Which is very pretty, I guess.
I think they're all great.
They are.
They're all so fun. And, like, they're all like, if you want to go do this thing for me to make my science easier, I will give you money.
Yeah. And they're also like, if you can get us actual research, we can then actually have an office instead of standing in the middle of the construction zone working on these consoles in the middle of the room. Which, like, legit, I can respect the hustle. It sucks having an office in the middle of a space that's not conducive to work.
Yeah. They each give you a different mission. Eridana gives you 2 missions, actually. She asks you to recover a science team for her and also to scan some planets so she can build a realistic model for future students, which I think is lovely and very sweet. It's very Miss Frizzle of her. We need bioscans from life forms that we encounter for the Solarian doctor, who's Professor Hurick, I think his name is.
I believe so, yeah.
And then there is the Turian doctor, whose name I can't remember, but he is a scientist after my own heart who says, do you want to hit rocks for science?
Yes, please.
You are talking to the right person. Yes, I will absolutely hit some rocks for science. Thank you. Please sign me up.
Can I say that I love the little hats that Turians sometimes wear? They remind me of like a sock on a cat, almost. Yes. Like they just look so cute.
It's very cute. But yeah, the scientists are great and I love them. Maybe they will get their own office at some point. Let's see. Sam Node.
Yes. So while we're gallivanting about, Sam reaches out to us while we're talking to Tan, gives us a headache. Thanks, Sam. And then says to please come back to the Hyperion when we have a chance so we can have a chat about something.
In Sam's defense, he didn't give you a headache.
That's true. You were getting headaches. It just happened. He noticed and chimed in after.
Don't slander my boy.
When you go back to Sam Node, the first thing you say is, "What? You're in my head. Why do we have to speak in private?" But he wants to let you know that the headaches shouldn't happen anymore. He upgraded your software essentially, so you won't get them anymore. And then shares with you that apparently he has information about your dad that he cannot access, memory files that are blocked off, that he suspects if you find certain things around the ship, it might help unlock those memories.
Yeah, one of the things that Sam tells you is that in addition to being completely sentient and beyond what the initiative knows, the initiative thinks of Sam as like, this is just a fun little robot here to help you. He's kind of an AI. Sam is full on 100% unshackled AI in your head. But because you have a symbiotic relationship with him, he's never going to betray you. And in exchange, he can make you basically superhuman.
Yep. It explains why your dad was able to do what he could do in the first mission. Also, I responded to him when he told me that, well, what do I get? What do you get out of this? Like, you're making me superhuman. What are you getting? And you find out that even though he's essentially an unshackled AI, he can't really go anywhere and hasn't really been able to evolve beyond what he's become. But through the Pathfinder's experience is what helps him evolve. It helps him to grow and understand and become a better version of himself. And so that's what he gets out of it.
Nice.
It is really nice.
That's the kind of partnership I'd be down for, because we're helping each other grow. We're taking care of each other. It's like having a little friend inside your head at all times, and does not make me sound crazy at all.
I will say that my only issue with Sam is he does feel like a Jarvis ripoff a little bit. Like, I understand that you're going to run into those comparisons no matter what, but he also is British, and he's like, it is pretty close. But I mean, I still love it. I think that, I if I could have a Jarvis in real life, I would want one. So of course I like Sam.
Sam introduces you to the concept of profiles, so you are no longer limited to what class you initially chose.
Yes.
You can now access all the classes depending on how you stat your writer.
Yep, and I immediately changed myself to Adept so I don't have to jump into the middle of everything. I mean, I will still be able to, because it doesn't take away your abilities, but now I think I bought Shockwave so I can pew pew from a distance.
Awesome. See, I was very excited for you to discover this, because when you were so sad about Vanguard not being what you wanted, I was just like, oh, it's okay. Everything will be fine. So I'm really glad that you were able to take advantage of the profiles and you're starting to build a better writer for yourself.
Yeah.
But yes, our dad placed a block on certain parts of Sam's memory, and depending on how we progress as a Pathfinder, we may be able to unlock those memories. And the first way to do that is to visit our father's room.
Yeah, I have a bunch of notes here. First one, the most important note that I forgot to mention last episode is everyone on the show knows what a big voice actor nerd I am, and I missed the excellent opportunity to point out while we were hanging out with our dad that the living legend, Clancy Brown, is the voice of your dad. He is most famously known probably to a lot of people as Lex Luthor in the Superman animated series, but this is a guy who's worked in live action and in voice acting for a very long time. And so it's pretty cool once I realized that it was Clancy Brown, because I didn't really notice it in the first section, but as I was listening to the audio log that you have to you listen to in his study, the general log that gives you some information, I recognized his voice. I like here that you can look at stuff in the room. You can find a Normandy model. Great. Yes. We're going to be collecting more models. You can also click on the coffee machine. This is a game after my own heart. I wrote down a quote from Sam because Ryder pretty much says, yeah, it's this. My dad needed this coffee. That's how you got made. And Sam goes, I didn't know that I owed my existence to a bean.
And now you know what humility feels like.
It's just the best exchange.
I love it. I love all the dialogue in this game. I feel
good.
like it's so natural and it flows and it's very witty.
Yeah.
It's very bantery. And I really enjoy that. When we go to our dad's quarters, we do find one of those eidetic triggers that unlocks a memory. And it's a little weird that the triggers are said to be tied to the progress Ryder makes as a Pathfinder and not to a location when it's very clearly tied to a location.
Like, we walked into the room, clicked on it, and Ryder goes, "What was that?"
Like, it's very clearly tied to the location of this room.
Yeah, but if we'd been in this room before now, we couldn't have found it because we hadn't progressed. I don't know. It's the game narratively trying to explain away a very mechanical thing.
I know. It just I know what they're trying to do. I just feel like it doesn't translate as well as they think that it did.
No,
that's all.
It doesn't. But once we find this and then go back to Sam Node, we are able to now...
well, before we go back to Sam Node, let's talk about his encrypted files real quick.
Oh, yes.
He was obsessed with secrets, and he even says, "Here's hoping 600 years can change a man." No, it absolutely does not change a man because of the shit you pulled to save your child's life.
Yes. Correct.
Why would you do this? If you wanted to be a better man and to no longer keep secrets from your family, you would not have put a block on Sam's memories. You would have just let your child know everything up front instead of making them go on a bullshit hero's journey.
Yeah, it's a fabricated hero's journey for the mechanical part of the game that they try and explain in the narrative that I'm guessing they don't do very well, but we'll see.
But then we get a Liara mention because... Alec reached out to Liara prior to Andromeda leaving to kind of utilize her research in encountering new species and learning from them and archaeology and all that stuff, which was really nice. Because it's baby Liara before all the trauma.
Before all the trauma. The Liara we first discover in the first game.
Apparently her theories are controversial, and she goes, "But they are old, and I am young and Asari, so we'll see who has the last laugh." Oh, you dummy. She's so funny. She talks about how we must look to the evidence, and clearly the Protheans were an enlightened race free from conflict and strife.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I bet Liara looked back at these recordings and went, "You fucking dumbass." Okay, those are all the notes I have about the encrypted files. Let's talk about the first memory that you unlock.
Yep, so when you go back to Sam Node, you find out that not only can you unlock your dad's memories, but then you relive them through his eyes, which, let me tell you, is creepy.
It's a little creepy, yeah.
Sounds real creepy to me. But this memory that you relive is him on the Citadel meeting with some members of the human military, though not specifically the Alliance, it seems. It's unclear. To talk about the origins of Sam and the idea and trying to get permission to build Sam, which he has declined. In this conversation, we also find out that we see your mom for the first time, and we find out this is the first time that your dad heard about her illness and that she doesn't have a lot of time left.
Right. She has the space cancer.
And when you come back out of the memory, you say to Sam, "I didn't realize this is how he found out." Because it does. That's a shitty way to find out, just suddenly after a heartbreaking meeting like that where you didn't get what you wanted. I mean, obviously he did eventually get what he wanted, but definitely didn't in that moment.
I think this is also the moment we learn that this was the catalyst for Sam's creation.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tired of this narrative of a stoic man being secretly soft-hearted.
Yeah.
Because this is the impression that we get of Alec, that he is, like, kind of cold, and, you know, he rarely tells his children that he loves them, and his career kind of, like, drove his family away. But really, he loves them passionately, and he shows it through, like, the things that he creates and this life that he's trying to build for them. And I'm just like, I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of it. Just be open and honest with your feelings. I have had enough father figures in my life who are incapable of being in touch with their emotions. I am exhausted by this.
Well, yeah, it's a trope for a reason, and, you know, it's born out of toxic masculinity. Even though he is not necessarily toxically masculine, it is a very gendered thing for the man to be stoic and unemotional, and the woman to be weepy and overly emotional, and like this leans into those kind of tropes. And I get it. We're writing a sci-fi story. We are writing based on what inspired us, and things like Star Wars and Star Trek are all guilty of this as well. So like, I understand why, but I'm with you. I think it's unnecessary and it's a tired trope.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think that's it.
To the cryo bay.
Yep, we go to the cryo bay and we see our good friend the Doc, who is standing over our sister, who is still yet to wake up.
Oh, my brother.
Right, your brother, my sister. And we find out that he is retiring from field work. That close call and watching all the young people dart around and fight reminded him that I am too old for this shit, and decides that he is going to stay on the Hyperion and continue to help here, and then also help on the Nexus and look after your sister. He specifically says, I'm not losing another rider on my watch.
Aww,
which,
Harry.
Harry is great. I appreciate him. I'm bummed that he won't be coming with us, though, because I do like him.
He's a silver fox.
He is a silver fox. And then after this, we are able to go talk to Greer, who's also in the med bay. Greer did not come out with the same sense of sarcasm and levity that Harry did. And yeah, he's pretty much like, yeah, I'm done. I watched your dad die. I watched, what is it, Kingston? Kingston's not right. What the hell is his name?
Was it Kingsley? It wasn't Kingsley.
It wasn't. I can't remember the other squad mate from the first mission, but I don't have it written down. I'll hopefully edit all of this out. Anyway, after losing his colleague and your father, he was like, nope, I'm done. No more field work for me. Like, he's clearly been traumatized by the experience in a way, which is legit. It was scary, but makes it clear that he's done soldiering for now. He's just going to stay on the ship.
Kirkland. I'm sorry.
Kirkland. No, it's fine. Now I may have to leave all of that in because otherwise the context will make zero sense. That's fine. I always sound like a clown on this podcast. Anyway.
I had to go through my notes.
Yeah, I didn't have it in mind. But yeah, no, Greer is just kind of done. He's definitely experiencing some PTSD in a heavy way, and so he won't be fighting anymore.
Understandably, that was really scary for first contact. Like, everybody was sold on this dream that they were going to find new, beautiful homes to live in, that they were going to explore new, peaceful worlds, that they were going to meet new aliens, and that they were going to, like, build a community and build friendships. And they wanted to do the colonizing, quote, right, so to speak. Like, they did not want to barge in on someone's planet and just be like, hi, we live here now. They wanted to approach and say, hi, this is our situation. What do you recommend? Like, they wanted to create a partnership. Yeah. But that did not happen. And instead, his friend died. His leader died. Yeah. Like, it was terrible and scary. And that would put anyone off of Andromeda.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, this goes back to what we talked about earlier, that this is not a ship full of superheroes, even though apparently Sam's going to make us a superhero now. The reality is that everyone's very, for lack of a better word, human, and this stuff is hitting hard for all of them.
Yeah. I get it, Greer. We found out during our conversation with Tan that when the Andromeda Initiative left the Milky Way for Andromeda, the Scourge was not there.
Yeah. It's artificial. It was created somehow.
Yes. So everything that the Andromeda Initiative is suffering is because of something that happened while everybody was asleep.
Yep. And that they think the Ket they know the Ket are involved, and they know that they are hunting down some kind of alien technology that is doing this, but it's manufactured. It's not natural.
Right. So, lots of interesting things going on in Andromeda. We meet a young Nigel McCoy who is sad because his little brother died on Eos before Nigel even woke up, which is, that's hard.
Yeah, and we're able to be quite compassionate with him, which I appreciate. And then he asks if, instead of going to retrieve anything from his little brother, if they have two sides of a interlocking necklace. He asks if we can bring his pendant there and bury it, like bring it to the spot where he would think and leave it there, which is touching, but weird.
So the way you described it made it sound like it's best friend necklaces. I think that they're just matching pendants.
Okay. I mean, they sounded like they were interlocking like two halves of a whole kind of necklaces, but maybe I read into it too much.
I don't know. I always got the impression that they were just matching necklaces. If somebody can say which of us is right, please do so.
Please do. But either way, he asked that you bring his pendant to the planet and let it rest with his brother.
Yeah, which is nice. That's really sweet. So it's like making a memorial for him.
Yeah. And another grocery item for us.
Yeah.
Add it to
just
the
another
list.
mission. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Before we wrap up, we have one more part to talk about, which is meeting our ship. We reunite with Cora in the transport bay, and we go off to see the land.
I have something to say about Cora real quick. Cora, even though she has her reasons to, like, maybe dislike you or to be jealous of you or to, like, not overly enjoy you, she does stick up for you. Like, she's very upfront with you. And she says about Addison, she doesn't know you. I do. You're doing fine. And I really appreciate that because they could easily just make it a, like, catty conversation of, like, I can't believe you're the one who's the Pathfinder. It should have been me. Because it should have been her. It really should have.
Yeah. But she just accepts it and still believes in you. And yeah, she absolutely stands up for you and says that Tan and Addison are both out of line and that you deserve to be treated better and that she hates that they're treating you that way.
I just appreciate Cora.
She's great.
I feel like they could have done so much worse with her, especially for, like, Sarah and Cora's relationship. It could have been more of a rivalry than anything else. But they don't lean that way, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, while they lean to cliches with your father, they don't with Cora, and I appreciate it as well. Once we arrive at the dock, we get to see the Tempest land, our new ship. Definitely inspired by some of the designs of previous Mass Effects. You know, it has some Normandy vibes on the outside. It's sleek, and as it lands, we also get to meet some of our crew, starting with Vetra, who is a female Turian who comes out and is giving orders and having people load up the ship. She greets you. She shakes your hand. She's very warm, a little snarky. And, you get this moment to kind of appreciate her. Someone coming over saying that they're breaking regulations, and she wanders off with them and sweet talks them. Does one of those, oh, how's your family? I know you're experiencing this thing. What if I help you get your son out of cryo early? Will you kind of overlook this? And, like, sweet talks their way out of it. Which was really
so smooth.
She's great. And like, that's my comment when she walks back over. I go, that was smooth. I love her already. She's great.
That whole scene where she's like, Ben, right? You got a son in cryo? She reminds me of that SpongeBob audio that goes around on TikTok of like, what's your name, friend? You got a family?
Yeah.
And that's the vibe that I get. I love Vetra. I think she's amazing. This moment where the camera like pans up her and you see like she's this tall, gorgeous Turian woman, and I'm just like, oh, she's a bombshell.
Well, we know you have a thing for Turians, so
I do. Who doesn't want a spiky girlfriend?
But yeah, she's great, and she ends up taking you around the ship, introducing you to other crewmates. Lexi from the Hyperions here, as well as Gil and Suvi. Is Vetra a combat party member? Mm-hmm. Okay. I had figured as much, and she had said she's tactical and long range and that kind of thing. You know, do all Turians love sniper rifles? Is that just a thing they teach them when they're younger? I don't know. But I kind of assumed she was going to be a squad mate, which is pretty cool. It was a little weird that Liam is nowhere to be found at this point. Like, I didn't see him around. I mean, we didn't explore the ship yet, but he didn't arrive with us.
Yeah, Liam was hanging out in the security office in Ops.
Yeah.
He is on the ship. He just wasn't in this cutscene.
Yeah. But you arrive and you get, like, the tour. She tells you that when you're ready, just go to the bridge and kind of lets you know, like, what's going on. And you're already wowed. And she's like, this ain't nothing yet. Just you wait. Like, there's more to see. And this is kind of where we stop after you get the penny tour of the bulk of the ship, is where we saved and stopped.
Yeah, and that was that. I do have a couple of questions for you, because they did not super come up in conversation. How does Nexus compare to the Citadel so far? What do you think?
It's unimpressive, but I think it's also because like the Citadel in the first game especially is so massive from the get-go, and it's clear that this is not fully functional. You can't see everything that's there. It's not fully working. I think the environments are fine. I feel like the Citadel was more dynamic with the water and some of the greenery and statues. This is all just very Star Trek porn, kind of. Like, it looks like a starship, and that's fine, but it doesn't seem as dynamic as the Citadel is.
Okay. Who was the most interesting person to talk to?
Mostly because I can't actually talk to Vetra yet. I'll still say Kesh. I really like Kesh. She's quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. And, like, it's just really interesting. Like, look, an asshole Solarian is not that new. So, like, that's less interesting to me than a really kind-hearted, supportive, brilliant Krogan. So, I've really enjoyed my time with Kesh most of everyone so far.
Which mission did you feel wasn't that interesting?
I mean, it's still so early. I think that the murder investigation it's fine. It's a lot of going around and talking to people and listening to audio clips until you can do whatever you need to do on Eos. I think it's fine, but it didn't really grab me. Like, at least the hacking, the sabotage one, like, it was a lot of back and forth, but like the conversation was really interesting and the story was really interesting for that. Whereas the first murder one just feels very meh so far. It might be cooler once we get the resolution, but for now that didn't really do much for me.
That's fair. And lastly, what do you think of the leadership team so far?
We're screwed.
Oh, so much confidence.
I think they're fine. I definitely don't like Tan's attitude, but I still want to try and find a way to like him. I don't hate him as much as the Elusive Man yet. That could change. I think the leadership is fine. I think everything that we've stated so far is kind of accurate. Like, it's nice that Kesh wants to really kind of take care of you and wants to work with you more than the others. But again, beyond Tan, everyone has reasons for the way they feel, whereas Tan just seems a little full of himself. The rest all seem to have the reasons for the way they operate. And so, I think right now it seems like we're a little in hot water and over our head, but what is a Mass Effect game without having overwhelming odds that you can't possibly hope to solve immediately?
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, for advice for survival in a new galaxy, I have 2 pieces of advice for you.
Okay.
Because I think they're both relevant, and I think the next section will be easier on you if you have these in your pocket.
Okay.
The first one is that when you leave the Tempest to get onto Eos, if you want to change out your squad mates, I actually took time to figure out how to do this because it's not super obvious. When you leave, you're going to get like your menu for your armor and your weapons. You have to move to different tabs to change things.
Got it.
It doesn't move you one at a time through the screens. It'll take you to one screen and everything's on a different tab.
Okay.
So, like, if you want to change your weapon, if you want to change your armor, if you want to change your squad, you just have to go through the tabs instead of selecting one and then going to the next screen and going to the next screen.
Noted.
Because that is what I expected the first time I played it, and that's not what happened. And I was like, when can I bring Vetra into my party? I want Vetra to come with me. Screw Liam.
Rude.
I mean,
he's fine.
I wanted Girl Squad.
It's fair.
I just wanted Girl Squad. So that was my first piece of advice. Don't quickly bypass that screen, go through all the tabs so you can make sure you're set the way you want to be set. And my second piece of advice is to come back to the Nexus repeatedly.
Okay.
Because things are going to change. The more you progress, the more the Nexus will develop.
Okay. So, like, between missions on Eos or, like, when I'm done on Eos?
when you're done on Eos, whenever you want, really.
Okay.
You can leave Eos and go back.
Okay.
Whenever you want. Whenever you want to see something new on the Nexus, go back.
Okay.
But wait until we finish Eos.
Yes.
Before you go back again.
Obviously.
Basically, I'm trying to tell you, really nothing on Andromeda is one and done.
Got it. I had figured as much. I mean, the Citadel is like that too, and so I'd kind of made that assumption.
So those are your pieces of advice for surviving in a new galaxy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ba-da-ba. All right. That was it for this episode. Our next episode is actually going to cover exploration of Eos. It's going to be our first time trying to settle a world on our own without our dad there. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine. And joining us for that episode is Colin Parker, our favorite Andromeda advocate.
Yes, who has advocated for Andromeda in every episode we've brought him on. So
yes.
We are excited to have Colin back. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited. If you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook.com/ReignitePod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're also members of the Certain Point of View podcast network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website. Come chat with us in Discord. We're having some great conversations, talking about Mass Effect, talking about video games, books, TV, movies, and more. Please join us in this conversation. We love having it with you.
If you're enjoying our Andromeda shenanigans here, then you should catch me over on Archives of the Dragon every other Monday, where my spouse, Professor John Bradley Lestrange, leads us through the wild unknown outside the Helios cluster in Andromeda. You can find that at twitch.tv/Archives of the Dragon.
You can find everything that I'm working on at www.djstormageddon.com. It has links to all of my podcasts, my merch, my Ko-fi. I have folks asking me often what's the best way to support me now that I no longer have a Patreon. Sending me some money through Ko-fi or buying some merch, that's always a great way to help me personally. Also a great way to help this show is to buy merch from our merch store, which we're about to tell you about.
We'd like to thank Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Caden Alenko. You can find more of his work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
I kind of want a t-shirt that just says, I didn't know that I owed my existence to a bean, with like a little cartoon Sam above it and like a little coffee cup with a bean next to it.
Well, you talk to your artist friends and you get one.
Right, yeah. Well, or, if Case is listening, Carter's husband, and wants to make that. Anyway, we do want to thank, speaking of Carter's husband, Case, we would like to thank him for developing a ton of amazing shirt designs that you can find at certainpov.com or on the Certain POV Teespring page.
We'd like to thank David Boyle for redesigning our logo like a champ. And lastly, thank you to JT Music and Andrea Storm Caden for our new theme music. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
Good luck, Pathfinders.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CPOV.
CertainPOV.com.